What's gone into the water is gone for good, until and unless the water dries out. Here is a list of some truly bizarre and outrageous discoveries made after draining water bodies. World War II bomb. This was the detonation of a 1,000-pound bomb which was found submerged in an Italian river. This year, the country is hit by a drought, the worst of its kind in 70 years. Some fishermen were minding their business on the banks of the dried-out river Po when one of them spotted this unexploded bomb half buried in sand. Bomb disposal unit was called in after evacuating the 3,000 people living in the nearby village. They carried out a controlled explosion in August of 2022 to get rid of the bomb. 400-year-old church appears after water level drops. This is probably divine intervention of some kind. A church dating back to 400 years surfaced from the receding reservoir waters in Mexico due to drought. These ancient churches emerged roofless when the water dropped by 80 feet in the Guralava River, located in the country's southern state, Chiapas. The church was built by Spanish colonists in the 16th century, according to archaeologists. The church was flooded after the construction of the Malposo Dam in 1966. The reemergence has attracted tourists and curious onlookers to visit the colonial-era remains. The visitors were able to walk around the interiors of the church. Man pulls World War II guns from UK canal. Now, this is probably one of the most interesting things found in a canal. Usually, you only find scraps of metal and junk, but this man from the UK was shocked when he pulled up 6 World War II submachine guns from a canal. The local resident, Nigel Lamford, was using a magnet capable of lifting over a ton of metal from the water when he found the iconic Sten guns. The guns were filled with mud and were corroded. Aside from the guns, he found dozens of fully loaded magazines and parts of the weapon, which were later reassembled on the bank. The local resident later handed over the weapons to a local museum. If you'd ask me, I'd probably keep those for myself. Spanish Stonehenge found after drought. Raising and lowering of the water level is destructive, but it can be revealing too. A 7,000-year-old monument dubbed the Spanish Stonehenge has resurfaced for the first time in decades. The reason? The water level in western Spain significantly dropped due to drought after 2 intense heat waves. Archaeologists think the standing rocks may have been part of an enclosed structure with an enormous stone cap and was possibly used as a tomb, a site for trade, or a space for religious rituals. It was in 1963 when the Stonehenge submerged when the Vallecanius Reservoir was built to facilitate a hydroelectric dam, which is still operational in the region. According to NASA, this is the first time that the entire monument has been out of water since the area was flooded to create the lake. Meteor found in mud of a dried lake. Would you be excited if you got hold of a billion-year-old meteor after tracking its crash site? Well, these guys surely seem to be. Planetary geologist Professor Phil Bland, along with a team of students from Curtin's Desert Fireball Network, used remote cameras for tracking a meteorite that entered the Earth's orbit and crash-landed on the banks of Lake Erie in remote South Australia. Time was of the essence here before a heavy rain would have wiped out all trace of the meteorite, and the team were able to locate the meteorite after 3 of trekking through mud. The team's tracking techniques have traced the meteorite's origins to between Mars and Jupiter, and it is thought to be about 4.5 billion years old. Civil War-era sword found in river. With the Civil War that ended only a few centuries ago, finding remains of its equipment intact would be quite challenging. A man was able to find a Civil War-era sword while searching in the water using a metal detector. Unfortunately, the blade was mostly dissolved due to the acidic nature of this river, and only the brass portions were readily identifiable. Now, if all the pieces of the sword are successfully recovered, then most definitely this ancient relic can be built back once again. Ancient Nandi statue found. There is no doubt that relics from the past would be not just under a supposed dried water, but underneath the mud. A pair of centuries-old Nandi statues carved out of monolithic soapstone have been unearthed from a dried lake bed in Aranskeri, about 20 kilometers from here, south of Mysore, India. Nandi is a Hindu deity that is mostly commonly depicted as a sitting bull in Shiva temples. Legend has it that if you whisper your wishes in the ears of Nandi, they reach out to the Hindu Lord Shiva and make their wishes a reality. So imagine how happy the locals must have been when they found and dug out these two ancient statues. Researchers from Karnataki's Department of Archaeology, Museums and Heritage visited the site and found the two statues dating back either 16th or 17th century AD. Cars found in drained pond. These vehicles were either dumped after committing a crime or just accidentally happened to fall in. In 2019, as the water level of the pond significantly dropped, a variety of things were found left behind, including but not limited to 3 cars, a bunch of tires, bottles, bicycles, and a lot of junk parts. The discovery of these vehicles quickly attracted the authorities to investigate if any of these vehicles were used in a crime. This pond is located in Canada and is a nearly 1-mile-long body of water straddling the North Providence line. It is held back by a dam that was built in the 1800s. The dam was deemed in danger of failing several years ago, so the city of Providence is having it repaired by blocking most of the water as one of the projects in its capital improvement plan. Shiva Lingas in India and Cambodia. Sahasralinga in Sirsi, Karnataka is a place of prime pilgrimage centers in the country. It is well known for its 1,000 Shiva Lingas that are carved on the rocks along the banks of the Shamala. The Shiva Lingas are rotary objects that symbolize the Lord Shiva and are revered as an emblem of generative power in the Hindu religion. As far as history is concerned, there are 1,000 lingas were installed by the ruler Sadashivira of the Vijayanagara Kingdom sometime between 1678 and 1718. Every year, devotees from across the country visit the place to perform religious spiritual healings. Cambodia is another place that also has 1,000 carved Shiva Lingas, about 25 kilometers from Angkor Wat, which is considered the largest Hindu temple outside of India. Floating graves. Seasonal flooding of the Ganges River caused soil erosion near the banks of the river, and the drained-out part showed something truly terrifying. Amidst the dry sand were half-buried corpses of humans. It looked as if the bodies were floating on the ground, and therefore hundreds of such shallow graves were named Floating Corpses of India, and many of these deceased people were believed to be victims of the devastating COVID-19 surge in 2021. The local authorities started to burn the bodies in order to cremate them properly, and requested the people to not repeat such acts of ungraceful burials. Drained lake exposes train parts and lost items. With the century-old habit of dumping everything in water, there is a potential to find almost anything in water. In 2015, Lake Tapps, which is a century-old reservoir, located south of Seattle, was drained for a project to repair the lake's aging dam. Once the lake was drained, it exposed an unusual landscape, a train trestle, partial remains of forest, along with the entire history of the aluminum bear cans that had been underwater for decades, is shown on what was the bottom of Lake Tapps. The lake was created in 1911 by Puget Sound Energy to power a hydroelectric dam, but since 2009, it has not been producing power and is used for recreational activity like boat and fishing. Mormon Island reemerges under Folsom Lake. So much of the history is underwater and is only discovered when water levels drop. Mormon Island is one of them and has been underwater for 50 years. In the clip, you can see the town that was buried underwater when the Folsom Dam was built in the 1950s. Many of the old foundations and past items remain. The island used to house 2,500 people, along with hotels and saloons. Some outskirts of the town were exposed in late 2013 and early 2014, when Folsom Lake was at a record low due to the North American drought. Most of the town is underwater, But when the lake is at very low levels, some foundations of buildings and an arched bridge can be seen. The town was mostly concentrated down further where the river naturally flows, but as you can see, parts of the town stretch toward the banks. Drought reveals lost Buddhist temple. Climate change is very real and could be the reason for most of these old relics to submerge. Wat Nong Bayayao is a Buddhist temple in Thailand that was submerged 20 years ago when Pasak Kronsalet Dam was under construction. Due to the decade-long drought, the reservoir has now reached less than 3% of capacity, surfacing the ruins and remains of the temple, including a 13-foot-tall Buddha statue. The risen temple is seen as a place of good fortune and has gained a lot of local attention and was packed with visitors. While that may be good news for tourists, it's causing heartache for local farmers as their means of earning a living recede with the water. A drowned village appears. Certainly not much of the village remains for it to be a ghost town. As you can see in the clip, the very few remains of an ancient village. The two small villages that were flooded in the process of building Lady Bower Reservoir were Derwent and Ashopton. The reservoir was built between 1935 and 1943, and at the time of its construction, it was the largest reservoir in Britain. Rains, mountain runoffs, and rivers filled the valley, which led to the rising of water levels. From then on, the village of Derwent started getting submerged until nothing was visible. In 2018, a hot, dry summer descended on the English Midlands, and as the waters of the Lady Bower Reservoir fell, the lost village of Derwent emerged, its secret streets re-emerging from a watery silence almost 100 years. Ancient bridge surfaces after water level drops. This bridge is another blast from the past. In 2019, this ancient bridge was revealed when the water level of Puyang Lake in Duchang County of East China's Jiangxi province lowered to 9.98 meters. The bridge was named as Qunan, which translates to a 1,000-span bridge, as it has 948 holes to facilitate flood discharge in ancient times. The bridge is nearly 2 miles long and was built in the Ming Dynasty between 1368 to 1644. It is the longest stone bridge spanning a lake in China. Local authorities allocated special funds totaling 900,000 yen, about $127,076 US, for the bridge's restoration. The bridge is now famous as an important historical and cultural artifact. Hertford Union Canal. One man's trash could be another man's treasure. In 2021, the Hertford Union Canal in East London was drained for essential repairs for the first time in 20 years, and local volunteers were invited to clear out the rubbish from the 191-year-old canal. A group of friends with the hobby of mudlarking decided to find out what had lain beneath the waters. They found junk and scrap of everyday items such as runner tires, mobile phones, chunks of obsolete technology, and much more. The volunteers also made some amazing discoveries, such as a World War II helmet, an idol, and different kinds of coins. They found all these only after scratching the surface, and one can only imagine what lies beneath there. Discovery of a new species. One can only imagine what you might find in a dried river. Oftentimes, new discoveries are made. In June 2019, researchers from Northeastern's Ocean Gnome Legacy Center discovered a new genus and species of shipworm burrowing into the bedrock of the Abaton River in the Philippines. Lithredo abatanaki was decided as the name of this creature since it belongs to a family of Teredo, where litho stands for limestone and abatanaki derived from the river where it was found. Strangely, these creatures feed on stone and excrete sand-like material. The Thredo abatanaki are still being studied, and the Abaton River is the only known spot where these creatures are found in the world. Castle emerges from river as droughts affect Turkey. On another day, another ancient monument was found. It was discovered in 2021 when water levels lowered in the Keyban Dam in eastern Turkey due to droughts. The castle was carved into the mountain along the Euphrates River. It was in 1974 when this castle got submerged in water as the dam started to hold water. According to researchers, the castle is believed to be a pre-Christian temple, and the area was used as a border post during the Eastern Roman Empire. The castle has several rooms connected by long, narrow hallways, and Greek inscriptions were found on the interior walls of the castle chambers. The castle can only be reached by boat, but historians and tourists are jumping at the chance to get a look at this elusive structure. Water levels at dams have fallen to record lows across the country due to the lack of rainfall. Ancient ruins revealed after lake water level drops. Lake Powell is the second biggest man-made reservoir in the U.S. This artificial reservoir can store about 26 million acres of feet of water when at full capacity. But after several years of drought, the water level has significantly dropped by more than 100 feet. As a result, it is revealing several archaeological sites that were flooded when Lake Powell was filled in the 1960s. The impressive site of Lake Powell is definitely the ancient ruins. The early explorers and gold miners had christened the site for Moke, which is a 1,000-year-old sacred monument believed to have been made by the ancient people of the desert. This ancient monument stands on a thin sliver of stone and mud. It was an old Native American fort. What only remains is a huge pile of rocks that have formed into these huge rocky plateaus. Unearthed ancient swords still in mint condition. This is probably one of the coolest of discoveries. In December 2016, archaeologists from China's Henan province discovered a sword dating back 2,000 years. And as you can see in the clip, it was still glittering in mint condition when being unearthed. The sword was found in a coffin which was excavated from a tomb dating back to between 475 BC to 221 BC in the ancient Qineng City Archaeological Site Park in today's Ying city of Henan. The well-preserved coffin was transferred to a museum of the archaeological site. According to the preliminary judgments of the archaeologists, the 47-centimeter-long sword was made of bronze and belonged to a senior official in the Warring States period. Moving on to the subscribers' pick of the day. This image was sent to us by a subscriber. Similarly, if you ever wish to know more about an image you come across, just send it to us. Who knows, we might even feature it in one of our videos. This snap was taken of the drained Canal Saint-Martin in Paris, where in every 10 or 15 years, the city drains the Canal Saint-Martin for cleaning. The 2.8-mile-long canal was built by Napoleonic order in 1825 to bolster the growing French capital's supply of disease-free drinking water. Engineers drained the canal with the help of a small dam when it was cleaned the last time in 2001. They diverted 3.2 million cubic feet of water into the river Seine. At the time of cleaning, scores of abandoned Valise bikes and a whole bunch of beer bottles and cans were discovered. Some other finds drawn from the depths of the were shopping carts, motorbikes, chairs, radios, public trash cans, rolled up carpets, a fire extinguisher, a doll stroller, umbrellas, street signs, suitcases, and at least one gun, along with a hand grenade, for which the authorities were on hand to collect. All in all, don't litter in the canal! 3,400-year-old city revealed under Tigris River. As shocking as it is to see climate change and water levels being affected all worldwide, it is also revealing history. In early 2022, archaeologists found an ancient city in Iraq that was submerged under the Tigris River as the water levels declined significantly. They conducted an extensive study of a city that was dated back to over 3,400 years. The severe drought brought down the water levels at the Mosul Dam, creating problems for the people depending on this water. On the bright side, it gave an opportunity for archaeologists to study civilization from the ruins of the ancient city of the Mitanni culture, a powerful kingdom that occupied parts of today's Iraq some 3,600 years ago. Quicksand found after as canal dries up. You would be terrified if you'd find out how quickly quicksand can drown a person. A clip captured in an unknown location shows a boy struggling to escape from what looks like quicksand. A quicksand is formed in saturated loose sand when the sand is suddenly agitated and the water in the sand is unable to escape. The result is a liquefied soil that loses strength and cannot support weight. Now, unless you have some help nearby, quicksand can be life-threatening, especially if you start panicking. And getting out of it alone would be the fight of your life. Well, that's all guys for today. Thank you for watching the video, and if you found it interesting, I would much appreciate it if you comment down below about the video and leave the thumbs up. Last but not least, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon for getting updates related to our latest videos.